Hello, my name is Nandi Soccer and I'm here to talk about Dragon Age lore. Hello everyone and welcome to the third and last part of the topic of religions of Thedas. Please note that these videos are spoiler-free videos, which means that the lore facts are based on established lore information across the books of the Theodosian historians. Some of these facts may have been proven inaccurate throughout the games or throughout the books, but these are for future videos. Now, onto the video. After the fall of the Elvenan, the ancient elven nation, the Dalish tried to gather what remained of their fallen empire. Losing their ancestral immortality with the arrival of the Shemlin, or the Quicklings, which means the humans, had brought the end of the elven people. The elves used to worship a pantheon of gods that were said to give the gift of life and enforce the punishment. If the elven gods ever existed, they are long silent. According to the Dalish lore, the world was created by Mithal, the goddess of motherhood, justice and protection, and Elgranan, the god of fatherhood and vengeance. They had two eldest sons. They were twin brothers, Falundine and Dirthamine. Falundine was known as the friend of the dead, guiding the elders on their long sleep, carrying them beyond the veil in death. And Dirthamine, who taught the elves the gift of knowledge and the value of family. They also had another daughter. Her name is Andrul. She was the goddess of the hunt. She taught the elves how to watch over animals and respect them. And her godly sister's name was Cialis, the hearth keeper, who stayed home while Andrul hunted. Cialis taught the elves how to use fire and heal with herbs and magic. Another god was June, the god of craft, who used Cialis' teachings to teach the elves how to make bows and tools to hunt alongside Andrul. Gelanan was an elf. She didn't start as a goddess, but was chosen by Andrul to be lifted to the godly status. She was lifted to be the goddess or the mother of the Hala for her devotion for the animals. The fate of the elven gods is mysterious. The Dalish tell the story of an ancient war between the elven gods and the gods of malice, spite, and terror. They were known as the Forgotten Ones. But there existed a wild card, some sort of an in-between variable between the elven gods and the Forgotten Ones, which was Fenharel. He was known as the trickster god who could walk safely between the ranks of both the good and the bad. According to the Dalish lore, Fenharel conspired to trick both the good and the evil, so that he could inherit Elvenan to himself. He sealed the gods away in their respective realm by tricking them into thinking that there might be a truce between them and the other party. It was then that the humans came, and later Arlathan fell after Tevinter warred against it. Keeper Gishorl, keeper of clan Ralafirian, once wrote, "After the destruction of Arlathan, when the gods could no longer hear our prayers, it is said that Fenharel spent centuries in a far corner of the earth, giggling madly and hugging himself in glee." The pantheon of elven gods are 9 in total. Mithal, the great protector, the All-Mother. Elgranan, the god of the sun and vengeance, the All-Father. Falundine, the friend of the dead. Dirthamine, god of secrets and knowledge. Andrul, goddess of the hunt. Gelanan, goddess of navigation, creator of the Hala. June, god of craft. Cialis, the hearth keeper. And finally, Fenharel, the Dreadwolf, the trickster god. I'm right. Moving on. Moving underground, we will encounter the Dwarfs. This race of stocky, short people do not revere a higher deity or a pantheon of gods like the humans or the elves. Instead, they worship their ancestors by naming them paragons, while maintaining their close proximity to the stone. By calling themselves the children of the stone, they build their houses out of her. They are protected by her, They actually claim they were made out of stone. When they die, they go back to her. The nobles and paragons are kept in ornate sarcophagi. The commoners are kept within stone cairns. If the dwarf was a mighty warrior or have achieved something incredible in their lives, they are said to strengthen the stone, while those who shame their people would weaken the stone. Casteless and criminals are said to be rejected by the stone altogether. Those rejected spirits are said to inhabit dark and far cairns as rock wraith, a dwarven myth meant to scare children into obedience. The paragon state in the dwarven culture is akin to a living ancestor. The dwarf must have achieved something that betters the life of their people. The vote for the title is a very important decision, even though the title itself does not grant any powers. In Orzammar, a giant statue of the paragons are displayed in the Hall of Heroes. Unlike its sister Tig, Kalsharok's Paragon Elect is the highest elected governmental rank. The method of selecting Paragon have moved from past deeds into promised future deeds. In Kalsharok, they do not erect statues of the Paragon, instead they carve their deeds on the walls of the deep roads posthumously. Finally, we come to the belief system of the Qun, or rather the lack of belief. In ancient times, the Kosoth people worshipped some nature-related gods. They were wild and undisciplined. And then came an Ashkari Kusloon, who changed the people into unreligious, highly disciplined people known as the Qunari people. Kusloon's writings had two core concepts. Mastery is Qun. To know something is to understand it, to understand why it is, what it is, as well as what it is not. To know something is to possess the power to master it, and only in the lack of knowing lies weakness. The second core concept is called balance, or Akun. To exist without balance is to fall, to break, to yield. Only with balance can true stillness be achieved. When one is still, one is free to listen and know. In knowing, become strong. With strength, become steel, and as steel, endure. The Qunari's lack of belief is unique, as it does not allow in any shape or form any existence of religions. When the Qun or the teachings of Kusloon became law, all temples of past gods were destroyed, and the priests were either re-educated, killed, or driven to exile. Any hint of believing in any deity is absolutely forbidden and is met with violence if necessary. Freedom is a trivial concern within the Qun. What matters most is the stability and order. Anyone who values freedom will find their life under the Qun most unbearable.
You have to be raised under the Qun for it ever to make sense. The people who join as adults either end up unhappy or, well, for many, it's just a kind of form of slavery. I like the simplicity. I like knowing my place and knowing that it's the right place.
It is said that Kusloon's purpose was originally to find a society without hopelessness or despair. After failing to find such society, he exiled himself and eventually had an epiphany after encountering a massive swarm of locusts. A seer of Qunari once wrote, "The Qunari view their whole society as a single creature, a living entity whose health and well-being are the responsibility of all." Every Qunari is assigned a role under the Qun. This role comes even before a name. A person is known by what they do. For example, a mage is called a Cerabas, is named Cerabas. If the role ever changes, the name changes with it. Artists in the Qun are mainly researchers, looking for existing things to know about rather than making new things. Trade outside of the society is very rare, and it is not to procure new stuff, but more to know about the people living outside of the Qun, people who do not yet accept the Qun. The concept of family differs under the Qun. The father's role ends at conception, the mother's role ends at birth. The true family of a person are their peers. Every conception has to be approved by the Tamastrans. They are also in charge of raising the children resulting from this conception, teaching them about the order and the discipline. By the age of 12, the children are assigned the roles orally or physically by the Tamastrans. And because they are in charge of raising the future Qunari, the Tamastrans are highly respected. Although the Qunari believe that both men and women are capable of leadership, they still believe that each gender does something better than the other. For example, no matter how much a man can be good at management, a woman will always be better than him. The odd exception is present, albeit rare. A male Qunari could be a farmer, and a female Qunari could be a warrior. But even then, there is a division by discipline. Men do different kind of farming that the women do, for example. People who enforce the law under the Qun are called the Ben Hasrath. They are also sometimes sent outside of Qunari lands to do some covert missions, hunting enemies or sometimes spying. When the Ben Hasrath catches someone, they do not kill them. As for them, all life is useful. Instead, they put them to work and provide them with simple, clean cells. If the prisoner turns out to be stubborn, the Ben Hasrath introduce them to the re-education. An unnamed Tevinter prisoner once wrote, "Some of my platoon resisted indoctrination, refusing even to pretend. The Ben Hasrath see rebellion and discontent as an illness that can be cured, and they took these men to the Vedath Lok, temples dedicated to healing and recovery. I do not know what happened there. The men who returned were changed in profound ways. Others we never saw again. I can only assume that the cure did not take." Some Qunari break out from the ranks and live a life outside of the Qun. Their name is Tal Vashoth, which translates to true grey ones. They are usually hunted down by the Ben Hasrath, but they are not large enough to form a counter-army to fight back.
Tell me about the Tal Vashoth.
When Qunari can't handle the fighting in Saharan or lose faith in the Qun, they go rogue. They flee into the wilderness and turn into bandits, attacking everyone. They're vicious, savage. You look at them and you can see why my people needed the Qun to stay civilized.
Isn't that what you did, though?
Hey, when I burned out, I didn't go rogue. I reported in and went where the Ben Hasrath sent me. I'm doing my job, serving the Qun out here. I'm not some bandit. I am nothing like them.
Qunari leadership has 3 heads. Together, they form something called the Salasari. Arigina, head of the worker sector of the Qunari. She is responsible for maintaining the health and well-being of the community. Arikun, head of the priesthood. They are responsible for ensuring the Qun is well taught. Arishok, head of the Qunari military. He is responsible for the safety of the Qunari people as well as expanding and spreading the Qun. And by this we would have finished the major religions of Thedas. I haven't yet talked about the small cults across Thedas or the Avar, for example. So I think these actually need a video on their own. Next time, I'm not sure what topic I would like to talk about next time. So if you have any recommendations, please let me know in the comments. And of course, don't forget to subscribe and like the video. And thank you so much and catch you next week. Goodbye!
No man can beat the Chargers, 'cause we'll hit you where it hurts. Unless you know what's happened with those cards and looser skirts. For every bloody battlefield will gladly raise a cup. No matter what tomorrow holds, our horns be pointing up.
Thanks for coming by, boss. Glad you could meet some of my team.